Good morning, viewers. Welcome to a very special episode of Women Now, brought to you from Silver Creek Country Club. We will talk to two exceptional human beings. First, we sit down and talk to Steven about holistic living. We hear this term holistic a lot, but we don't really know what it means. Body, mind, and soul. How do we build synergy between the three? How do we know we have reached the full potential? How do we know that there's something that we don't know about our lives that we need to figure out? We'll find out from Steven how he does that with his clients. Now, have you ever wondered something is not going right in my life? Why is my life not as good as someone else's? And all of those thoughts come to your mind and you want to go to someone to find out what the solution may be like. And now I have Steven here with me, who is going to tell me why people go through those kind of trauma, feeling that my life is not the best life or the way that I wanted it to be. And what can they do to help themselves?
One of the principles I work with is that in childhood, we develop a lot of our patterns. Sometimes something traumatic will happen to us, which we may or may not even remember. And that'll ripple out into our life in a variety of ways.
Now, you have studied the behavioral pattern, and then you've connected it with their childhood, and that's how you know that there is a connection, or how do you find out?
Well, I do hypnotherapy and then this body work, and I kind of combine them with certain types of coaching. But it's in the tissues of our body we can actually store memories. For instance, I had a client where I was kind of pulling on her arm, and I noticed as I pulled, she'd kind of like shudder. And so I just held it there, and she made this connection that her father used to help her cross the street by pulling that arm, and her father had passed away. And she realized that she was kind of holding on to him metaphorically with this arm. So this shoulder was always causing pain. So that release was like palpable, we felt it. And she cried a lot, and that released that whole thing from her shoulder, and that showed how it kind of connected. And there's a period of integration after something like that arises where she could see how that was playing out in her life.
So if I understood you correctly, we all store things in our body, in our tissues, and that could be from early childhood, and we retain that throughout the rest of our lives, and our actions are actually a reflection of what happened in our childhood?
Yes, because once those cells kind of get that pattern, that plays out in different ways in our lives.
Now let's talk about Vipassana. You have done that. Am I saying it right, Vipassana?
Vipassana.
And what does that really mean? What does that word mean, and what does that teach you?
Vipassana is supposedly the original teaching of the Buddha, and it's about being in the present moment awareness. So that, for him, that involved scanning the body up and down, endless times, because that's kind of how you stay in the present. And as you scan, you notice there are pains. There's a lot of pain, layer and layer of pain, because in that theory, life is about suffering, and that's part of life. The book's kind of a product of 10 years of studying myself and healing my own ailments. I used to be very sick and stressed and angry, and my vision was blurry. I had a rash, and I was allergic to a lot of foods. And I had kind of a near-death experience where I broke my neck in a surfing accident in the ocean. And after kind of coming up from that, it made me want to reevaluate what I was doing with my life. So I started going deep and just figuring out how I could live fully and make changes in my life that I wanted to make. So this book is my personal story of my journey, interwoven with all the practical tips that I've used on myself and I use with clients. And this is a good first step for people who are interested in going deeper and really starting to integrate their spiritual aspect of their healing.
So how has that experience transformed you, that near-death experience, to being a perfectly fine person, writing a book and coming to a show? How has that transformed you?
Well, it's one of a few kind of awakening experiences I've had in my life, and essentially it just kind of made me worry less about the little things and kind of keep an eye on the big picture more.
That's awesome, and I wish you good luck. And I want to personally come and see you and need to find out what I need to change about myself.
Okay, I'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching America's first South Asian TV talk show. Don't go away. Women Now will be right back.
So once in a while, I get this opportunity to talk to entrepreneurs who are gorgeous, beautiful, have exciting companies, and I can't wait to find out more about what you do and what inspired you to start two companies. You look very young. I would have imagined you're straight out of school or college, and there I find out you have two companies and very successful ones. Tell me all about you.
Thank you so much. So I do have two businesses. The first one I started when I was 20, and the last one I just started in December. We launched in December, so we started in September. The most recent one is called Haute Legs, and it's an online subscription site for women's leg wear. So think of it as like a Tights of the Month club. So tights, leggings, really fun patterned hosiery, socks, just wild, fun things that can make your wardrobe.
That's why I like young entrepreneurs, because they bring a new wave and something exciting. Instead of thinking about technology and how to go mobile and how to do cloud and those type of things, we have this new brain thinking out of the box. Who would have thought you can have a company revolving around leg wear, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
what got you thinking about the need for such a company?
Especially being in San Francisco and, spending so much time in New York and Chicago and just bouncing around from place to place, I find that it's such an easy way to change my look and just to go from day to night, right? So I pack lots and lots of tights and leggings and different fun things. So I would get so upset when my tights would tear and I would need to go back to the store and buy another pair. And I always look for the cool styles, right? And things that are really unique. And it just got so difficult, and I was like, what if there was some sort of service where these tights would come to my house every month, and it was kind of based on my style, personality, and it didn't exist. So I decided
I can't help but ask you, what tips can you give for us? We don't even consider tights as a part of our outfit because it's an accessory for us. Now, what tips can you give us regarding tights and how we should carry them?
I think anything that has vertical lines or like a sheer black with a back seam really elongates the look of legs and adds just a little bit of sex appeal without being over the top, right? So you can still get away with wearing it to the office or doing it during the daytime and just has like a little bit of that subtle sassiness.
What about lace? If I'm wearing lace tights, does it mean I'm trying to attract men?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, if anything, I think it's more about women, right? Like, I think women are more likely to notice your legs and stop and be like, wow, those look so great.
Women are more likely to notice women, period. Whether it's the leg or the hair or the lips. Women notice women, and that's what I said in one show, is that men, stop thinking that we dress up for you. No. We are actually dressing up for our girlfriends.
It's totally true, absolutely. But yeah, I think lace tights are great, especially, this summer we're seeing a lot of really fun patterns and like some bright leg wear, especially, in San Francisco when the weather is not so beautiful in the summertime. You still want to wear summer dresses, and you can still have that warmth by wearing a cute pair of tights too. So
now, we are Asian Indians, you know that, right?
Yeah.
So we are totally unaware of any leggings because we are not used to wearing that. When we were growing up in India, we are always wondering, is this the right thing to do with this right dress, or what if it was a different color or anything like that? Florals, laces, vertical stripes, colors. What can you tell us to do?
Oh my gosh, everything. So like right now it's sort of an anything goes kind of phase. So I think that if you're wearing, what's a really popular style right now is the faux thigh high style. So when you have like opaque from foot to thigh and then kind of sheer to that point, and it's just really pretty, and it's a great thing that you can wear with like a really feminine floral frock, right, for summer, and it just makes it a little bit edgier and a little sassier. So yeah, there's just so much you can do. Or if you're, if you're uncertain, just wear a pair of the sheer black, and it looks really beautiful and elegant and classic, but still has that, again, that little bit of sex appeal.
Well, we were not supposed to talk so much about the leg wear because you have the other company, which is even more exciting. But see, I got caught up with the leg stuff.
It's so much fun. I'll have to send you a package.
Totally. Now tell me more about the new company, and it's very exciting. It's a very new space, and I first want to ask you, what was the turning point in your life that you thought of starting a company that is emotionally helping people who change their sex? Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first business that I started when I was 20 is called Nouveau She. So it's actually the older business. And Nouveau She is a service that I offer for men who are transitioning to become women. So for transgendered individuals. And it kind of just helps them explore their femininity, right, and embrace it, or start to integrate their gender, right? So I kind of believe that everybody falls somewhere within a gender spectrum, right? And so despite how we may reveal ourselves externally, that doesn't necessarily match up to how we feel on the inside. So that's what I do. So everything from wardrobe styling, makeup application, physical and behavioral mannerisms, I just teach femininity.
Now, what makes you experienced and educated on that? I mean, how do you really know how the man is feeling once he becomes a she, and vice versa, right? You do both ways, right?
I actually don't. I don't work with female to male because I can't teach masculinity, right? I'm not an expert, but I can teach femininity. You know, I think just being a woman and embracing my own femininity and loving style, loving fashion. You know, I've styled for photo shoots. I've done lots of wardrobe styling. I've done lots of personal shopping. I worked as a makeup artist for MAC Cosmetics for 2.5 years. So I just have a lot of different experiences. And I think that with the transgendered community, it's something that's so new. You know, there aren't really classes that you can take to learn about it, but it's really just about field experience. So, you know, my first few experiences, I maybe didn't know so much, and I was just kind of going out into the dark and experimenting and figuring out what works with what individuals. And at this point, you know, I'll be honest, I kind of have it down to a bit of a science because I've been doing it for so long. And yeah, it's this incredible space where you don't quite know, and once you learn and you really have the opportunity to make somebody look how they feel on the inside, it's just spectacular, I think, and rewarding for both parties. So.
My last question to you, how does this emotionally affect you? You talking to people who have completely changed their lives, they've become a woman from being a man. How does that affect you emotionally? What goes through your mind when you talk to them, when you see them? What feeling do you go through?
Just immense gratitude that they've let me in. You know, I meet my clients and they share this really intimate thing with me. They tell me who they feel they always have been on the inside. And a year later, I find out that they're lactose intolerant or that their favorite color is blue, right? So you really go from the inside out, and that's a pretty spectacular thing. And for me, working with people that are going through this, it puts all of my problems into perspective, right? So if I'm having a spat with a friend of mine or an argument with my mom or something silly and trivial, it really makes me realize that there are much bigger, more important things, and it gives me an overwhelming sense of gratitude for, you know, my body and my life and just being happy and comfortable in the self that I was given, so. Yeah.
That's profound. Thank you so much for sharing your two exciting, interesting stories. I can't wait to talk to you in another 5 years. By then, you'll have 5 more interesting companies.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be right here talking to you about those 5 companies, okay?
I can't wait. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching America's first South Asian TV talk show. Don't go away. Women Now will be right back.
Now, Silicon Valley has been the home to a number of large corporations as well as thousands of smaller startups. Today, we're going to meet 2 such entrepreneurs, Venk Shukla, a serial entrepreneur, and also the president of TiEcon, and also Harbir Bhatia, who is a tech professional and a volunteer with TiEcon. Venk, welcome to Women Now. Tell me, you pioneered the format of TiE Angels. Can you give us a bit about it?
Sure. Well, it turns out that I used to do some angel investing on my own, and I was pretty bad at it. And looks like, you see, I would invest, you see, because I knew someone, or because I owed somebody a favor, or came someone that I couldn't say no to, and those are all. Or I see I fell in love with the company or with the founder, and all those are bad reasons for investment. So I thought that if there was an organized platform where number of people could pool their collective wisdom and did the diligence, then the quality of decision making would improve. And that's exactly what happened when we put together this platform. We always involve deep domain experts, and if 4 or 5 people are putting their heads together, the quality of decision making turns out to be better.
That's good to know. What are VCs looking for these days?
That's something that has not changed over the years. They look for unique insight. They look for a team, you see, with a great vision, you see, in a big market, all of those things have not changed. I think more than anything else, they all look for that X factor, where the entrepreneur has the capability or the drive that, you know, if the hurdles come in the way, which they always do in every company's life, he or she has the creativity, has the resourcefulness and the persistence to go over that. And that's something which is not clear before people actually start their company, if they have it in them or not.
And what are some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs do while presenting in front of VCs or doing the elevator pitch?
You know, the issue is that sometimes the entrepreneurs are such deep domain experts. They know so much about their area that sometimes it's difficult for them to talk to a layperson and communicate quickly what the value proposition is that the investor should be excited about.
Well, we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us. And Harbir, let's start with you being a woman. What kind of expertise, what kind of women expertise do you bring to the table to TiEcon this time?
That's a very interesting question. First of all, this is kind of fun to be on this side of the line because it's Jonathan who's asking the questions. But I think the beauty of having a diverse community, and that could be women or anybody else, to an organization is you bring the perspective of that following or that segment to that organization. And I think it's important to have the women involved, more women involved in TiE, because they bring that perspective. They also need insights. They also need know-how. They need the guidance, the mentorship. And we're finding as years are going by that, yes, they need that, but the way they need it might be slightly different. And, you know, social media has given some insights to how women behave on social media that are very indicative of how they behave in life in general when it comes to professionalism. So they found that women actually are less comfortable asking for help and trying to promote themselves, but are more comfortable promoting others and supporting others. So they used some of these studies, they try to measure these studies in the social media space, and they found it equally consistent. So in the same way, TiE is all about insights, the know-how, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur, the leadership qualities, the mentorship, the networking. So I believe for me, I bring that segment to the table and hopefully represent them to some degree. And I can't say that all women are the same and nor are all men the same. But if I was to say, if I am one example of the many women out there, I need those things. So if I'm part of the team, then I get to bring some perspectives in. But I also personally love creativity. I love creating awareness. I love bringing people together. And I love innovation. So those being my personal interests, this is a great place for me to actually have that outlet to help create that value for TiE and TiEcon, as well as bring the perspective of many women that may not be part of it today. And hopefully more will be part of it tomorrow.
Right. And just talking about women, wasn't the Women Forum a super hit last year?
Yes, actually, it was a great hit last year. We had so many women at the doors that we actually had to ask them to leave. Even I couldn't enter because we were like, well, if all of us enter, then the attendees don't get to enter. So we had, I think, probably more positive feedback in that forum than we have in a long time at the conference. And for that reason, this year, again, it's on the books. We have a half day the second day for women that are in technology or entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, and maybe those women that are in actually non-technology spaces that have been leaders in entrepreneurship. So some women would talk about their businesses that are being very fruitful and very successful that are outside of IT. Everybody thinks, you know, TiEcon's only about IT. This know-how is applicable to any space. It's just that we live in Silicon Valley and this is the greatest demand. But coming to TiEcon's women's sessions, we'll get a lot of insights on what women are doing to create influence from within. How do you create innovation from a women's perspective? How are you, changing your community outside of just being an entrepreneur? How are you making change in what you do as a leader, as an individual contributor? So if you think about that spectrum, it's actually pretty broad. You could be, an owner of a design company who needs VC funding. Well, guess what? You should still come here. What if you are a, mid-level manager and you need mentorship on knowing how to really successfully climb that ladder? You come to TiEcon. You will get all those aspects. And I know people say, what TiE stands for. For me, TiE stands for actually talent, entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship. So you can twist those letters in any way which you like. But I think for women, this is a great place to get that support.
Well, that's good to know, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did, bringing it to you, talking to the wonderful people in the world, Monica and Steven. They inspire me. Write to us what you want to see on the show, info@womennow.tv. And don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same place. Until then, you know what to do. Take care of yourself, have fun, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.